Welcome back, everybody. So this time I'm taking a look at another Cowl Unit Productions upload, this time titled CSX's Reversed YN2 Scheme, which as far as I'm aware, they only did this type of variant of the YN2 scheme on the various SW switchers and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure a few examples were even shown in his Quirky Railroad Paint Schemes uploads that they didn't really keep the look of the scheme too consistent when it comes to their switchers, which I don't know. It seemed like they kept changing their mind a lot. But even with the reversed YN2 look, it doesn't look bad. I do like it. So enough prolonging this, so let's get going.
In 1990, CSX would debut their most iconic paint scheme, when B36-7 number 5895 emerged from the Waycross shops in what we know as Bright Future, or YN2. Over the course
Yep, Bright Future / YN2. Then nowadays we have YN3 / Dark Future onward.
of 12 years, thousands of locomotives were painted in the uniform scheme, the livery remaining unchanged and pretty consistent across multiple locomotive models.
Yep, and a goated paint scheme. Need I say more?
For the most part. But like every
Wait,
railroad, pretty consistent
YN3B, what did
across
that
multiple
say?
locomotive models. For the most
Yeah, technically a YN3B. When the AC6000s had the gold yellow logo and the two lightning bolts for style reasons, I guess. There is, however, a YN3B with the boxcar logo. So I guess you could technically call this the YN2B. But either way, it's still YN2 gold lettering, I guess.
part. But like every railroad livery, there are some anomalies within these uniform schemes, and CSXY2 is no different.
Yeah, I am correct when they did not really keep the look of YN2 on these various switchers consistent. Certain instances where the text was too small or too big, or there was too much of the blue and very little room for the text. It was kind of all over the place with these things.
Back when the scheme was still in its early stages, the locomotives being repainted were made up of standard cab diesels from EMD and General Electric. One series of locomotives that had yet to be accounted for were yard switchers. Around 1990, CSX would repaint the first two yard switchers in a YN2. The chosen candidates were SW 1500 1129, originally built as LNN 5029 in November 1972,
And it was looking pretty good in the Stealth Blue scheme, which I'll admit that scheme has grown on me after a little while.
and MP15AC number 1171, originally built for the Seaboard Coastline in February of 1978. Their origins are nothing to write home about, simply being yard switchers built by EMD for their respective railroads, with these locomotives surviving through the formation of Seaboard's system before being observed and renumbered upon the creation of CSX. When it came to repainting them, the yard switcher livery would go as follows. The nose would be painted yellow on both ends, followed by blue and gray along the hood with the CSX logo, before the blue would rise up and meet with the cab, before the rear of the cab would just be plain yellow.
Yep, and that is the reversed YN2.
So it would look something like this. But as for the two numbered, their livery would be applied in reverse, where the proportions of the scheme were mirrored. The cab should have been blue, but instead appeared to be half blue and gray, while the blue transition was along the front of the hood, and
Yeah, and it looks pretty off with what they ended up doing. But still, it's not the worst thing ever.
appeared to be half blue and gray, while the blue transition was along the front of the hood instead of towards the cab. Another small detail I've noticed while analyzing was the CSX logo being smaller compared to other switchers, which had a more larger logo on their respective liveries. There isn't an exact reason as to why this happened. My speculation is, well, these were the first two NCAP switchers to receive YN2, and given that their designs are completely different to the average American diesels, they would have had to test out the scheme first to see how they would have looked like and see what needed to be fixed for when they mass repaint other NCAB locomotives, which is what happened. As in later years, other yard switchers on CSX would receive YN2, but with the scheme being revised to have better proportions for the logos and the rest of the livery.
And as I said, the reversed version of the scheme did end up looking much better here. Even on the tunnel motor like switchers they had.
But with the scheme being revised to have better proportions for the logos and the rest of the livery.
Oh, mostly.
As for the reversed scheme diesels, 1129 would be sold to Helm Leasing between 1993 and 94, where it would then be sold to Wisconsin Central, being renumbered to 1571, and continuing in service into the days of Canadian National.
Really?
As of September 2024, though, 1571 was sold off to Larry's Truck and Electric, where it sits in purgatory in Lordstown, Ohio.
It'll probably be scrapped in the future, so I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case.
As for 1171, it would thankfully stay on CSX and receive a repaint into the more fixed version of YN2, and the switcher would continue wearing its Bright Future scheme until 2005, when it received the infamous Dark Future livery, and later the YN3B scheme around 2014 and 2016. But as of 2019, 1171's last sighting was in a storage line in Dobbins Heights, North Carolina. And given that it isn't listed on any active CSX rosters, it has been sold off to another owner. Or, worst case scenario, scrapped.
But even then, YN3 onward looked pretty good on these switchers, you gotta admit.
So, despite these two anomalies' short existence, the Bright Future scheme has remained consistent in terms of its appearance, with those that received YN2 wearing a more updated version that fit these locomotives. In some ways, their existence did serve as some sort of testbed for the scheme on yard switchers, and while their execution was questionable, it allowed CSX to refine the scheme for yard switchers in later years.
That's right.
But like I said, consistency sometimes didn't matter.
Yep, CSX was always a little quirky with their paint schemes, even on the switchers. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think down below. Original video will be in the description. And I enjoyed learning about the reversed YN2 livery, its history and whatnot on these units. So thanks again, everybody, and I'll see y'all next time.